tell you about my traveling guitar. When I was on YouTube the other day, I saw other folks had traveling guitars, and I was very interested in what they had to say. Their traveling guitar was, all of theirs were different than mine, so I thought perhaps other people might be interested in hearing about mine. So I thought I'd tell you why I built it and why I designed it what I did. The reason I built it stems from the fact that I had made a commitment a number of years back that if I ever wanted to improve on my playing, I had to practice every morning. And I managed to stay on that regimen. The only problem came is when I went on vacation. And when I went on vacation, I had to find somebody to loan me a guitar, and I was able to do that. But unfortunately, the fellow that loaned me the guitar, it was an electric, a Fender electric guitar, and the camp that we lived in had no electricity. But it wasn't a total loss because he had this neat little transistor device that he put on his belt. And he could plug the guitar into the transistor amplifier and then wore earphones, and it really sounded pretty good. So each morning as I was doing my practicing, my mind would sort of wander and I would think, you know, I could probably make a traveling guitar based on this design, just scale it down. So when I got home, went to work, and came up with this strange looking instrument. Basically, it's an electric guitar, a solid body electric, except for the amplifier is built into it, and the neck, it's removable. These are bolts rather than wood screws, so you can take it on and off as many times as you want without damaging anything. And made dimensions a lot smaller, more compact for travel. Certainly made it less in this dimension. But the other is the neck. In order to keep, the neck is the longest component to the guitar. In order to minimize that, you notice it has no tuning head. The tuning machines are down at the tail. So this allows the neck to be only 19 inches. So when you unbolt this and it folds down, both these dimensions are 19 inches. It's, well, used it for a couple of years and on a number of trips, and it worked pretty well, but I wasn't totally satisfied for a number of reasons, not the least of which is I normally play on a classical guitar, and this, because it has the magnetic pickup, required steel strings, and the steel strings just tear up the fingernails. The other problem, I like to play with the guitar in my lap, and in order to do that with this, you play all hunched over, and it just isn't very comfortable. And then an additional problem was because the machines were down at the tail, it would bump against the thigh, and it was all too easy to keep knocking it out of tune. So at one point I said, maybe I'll try making another design, my second class travel guitar, which is this fellow right here, my present. And here, the main design criterion was, number one, to feel essentially like a classical guitar. Nylon strings, the distance, string distance is the standard 650 millimeters, wide neck, 12 frets to the body, of course. But the other thing, it had to be rugged, because take it in airplanes, take it all over the world, take it camping, take it in canoes. It's around water all the time, and it had to survive all that. And then, of course, the third is it had to be compact. Well, this time what I did is said, okay, how compact do I want it? And went and I got my briefcase, measured the inside dimension on the briefcase, about 12 inches by 16 inches. So that became the limiting factor. So now, on this, the body, 16, 20 approximately. The neck also had to be 16 inches. And I did that by, you see it's segmented right here, so that from here to here is 16 inches. Again, no head, but no tail either. This time I'm using zither pins. Zither pins are a little bit of a problem because you have to carry around something to tune it with, like a tuning wrench, or we call it tuning hammer actually. But then later on I found this neat little device. It looks like a roller skate key. Or a clock key, and that's what I use to tune So now, when I decided to build this, I did it all in one weekend. Well, a long weekend, a 3-day weekend. But I made it out of materials I had on hand. Of course, I just happened to have on hand a nice piece of African mahogany, which is what we generally use for necks. But also the fretboard, which is rosewood. Turned out a friend of mine, I knew he had been putting off building his guitar, and so I was able to borrow one and replace it later. So I had the rosewood for that, and I had some fret material. But the top, it's just birch plywood, 1/8" birch plywood, which I had on hand for making drawer bottoms and furniture. The back, it's just 1/4" birch plywood, just cheap plywood. The sides, 3/4" white pine. And the way I shaped those is I curved it on the radial arm saw, and it goes within about 1/8 inch of going through. This gave it an awful lot of flexibility. You get it all nice and wet, kind of the consistency of a toothpick after you've chewed on it for a while. And then I clamped it to a wood form, stuck it in the barbecue pit for about 2 hours, and when it came out, it was all pre-formed like this, and I could glue it down to the 1/4" plywood back. Let's see, anything else? That's pretty much it. Okay, let me show you how we take it apart and put it back together again, because that's one of the most important parts of this design. All we need is first a capo. This restrains the strings so they don't get tangled. I use a capo when I play the blues and things like that. Also, have a little wedge, which is actually a penny that's been slightly deformed, and there's a little slot that I can stick the wedge in, and that restrains the strings from popping open. The nylon strings have a tremendous amount of elasticity, and so as you undo the screws, there's a tendency to want to jump, and that keeps it from surprising you. So take out screw number 1, screw number 2. Keep the screws from falling on the floor and running under the furniture. And then, now that we have screws out, take the little wedge out and kind of slowly neck pull back. So this is how it goes into my briefcase or my backpack or whatever for travel. Now, putting it back together again is essentially the same thing in reverse. Push on this, and then a little wedge in. That wedge is very important, and that's kind of one of the last pieces of design that's gone into this. Put the screws in, tighten it up. It takes a little while before the strings stabilize because of all the elasticity. Generally, the first thing I do when I arrive at my destination is set up the guitar. In an hour, in a couple hours, it'll be ready to play. And generally, the will take retuning. One other thing is I do have some photographs and some drawings of both instruments on my website, which is brucesnow.us. www.brucesnow.us.